Welcome, welcome, welcome. Time for some fun, wouldn't you say? I see Zeo. Well, who's he gonna hit? Well, let's go into our fastest unit. That would be Auxiliary Lots. Definitely not gonna kill him. And then we also have Unbound Knight Arowell. That's also gonna go into Auxiliary Lots. Thankfully, we're a little bit thick. That's still not gonna kill him. And then we have Doris to just cleanse Auxiliary Lots. And now it's his turn, and because we have Spirit's Breath, we have complete control over the entire match for the rest of the fight. That's a pretty fancy way of saying, hey, cool, we already won. So, whenever I say, like, we already won, yeah, we still have threats to deal with. The threats being, Zeo is there. If he is left unchecked, he very well could actually kill Doris, because, like, Zeos, in and of themselves, do a lot of damage. So, I'm going to use this time to give Alencia as many turns as possible to hopefully get some death breaks and to hopefully just like do as much damage as possible and to see if I can kill Zeo within like the next 2 or 3 turns. So like he's not doing a tremendous amount of damage to like Doris right now, but like if you leave that unchecked is the thing that I was talking about. Like if you just like let him kind of go to his devices, and if I just went into a Ravi for the security of, oh hey, that's the only other unit that can kill Doris, then yeah, we would have been totally fine. But like that's pretty much what I'm doing here, and this is just straight up a strategy like blast from the past kind of situation. I bet a lot of you probably don't even remember Auxiliary Lots and what he did. So here's what Auxiliary Lots does. He has a S1, which is like kind of a nothing attack. You don't really worry about that. But if you have Spirit's Breath, which is Lulika's artifact, which every time you use a non-attack skill on a mage, which is what he is, then it reduces your cooldown by 1. And his S2 happens to just be 2-turn cooldown. So if you combine that with the Spirit's Breath, then it just, hey, it's refreshed every single turn that he gets it. What does it do? Basically, it boosts whoever he targets to 100% combat readiness, and it gives them attack buff. Ain't that just fucking based, huh? So yeah, what you can ultimately do with like Auxiliary Lots is like this is really, really old school cleaving pretty much, because you would one thing you could do, because this was something that was done back in the day, was to use something like Auxiliary Lots and Lots, because they both essentially do kind of the same thing, except one also heals, which is regular green Lots, and you could just have like 1 DPS, and that 1 DPS will just do everything because they're getting so many turns so quickly. It's tons of fun. Now, why is Auxiliary Lots not utilized as like heavily nowadays? Well, you can pretty much thank Conqueror Lilius for that. And yeah, it's really, really depressing, because like what Conqueror Lilius does is she's a light unit. Auxiliary Lots is a dark unit. So because of that, she's always going to go into him. And she very well could provoke him with the S2. That can also mess you up. And she can go into him with the S1, which could do a dual attack, which could also kill you. Like, that's pretty much why you don't really see Auxiliary Lots anymore. It's really sad, because he is immensely fun. It's the only form of cleave that I actually kind of like doing, because it just feels like there's a little bit more thought into it than, oh, I fast, I do S3, you dead. But hey, that's like the important stuff. That's the stuff that everybody likes whenever it comes to cleave, is like, oh, how effectively can I just go ahead and straight up end this situation as quickly as possible using like as few options as possible. So like that's why you see things like OP Cigarette, Conqueror, OP Cigarette, Commander Pavel, and Strays kind of shit. Like that is an ungodly powerful cleave. Not much can survive that. But like this is the kind of stuff that's more my bag. And hey, after all that rambling, it looks like that's the end of the fight. So yeah, it was a whole bunch of just using Auxiliary Lots to give turns to whoever needs it, and then also giving Doris the turn when she needs it for just cooldown reduction, pretty much. And oh, goody goody gumdrops. I see Lua, Senya, and Choux. So with Lua, Senya, Choux, you know what we're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and break out the ER Goddess Christy, throw out Shadow Knight Pyllis, and have a Roana at the ready. So, to those of you who have already seen the video that I put out a day earlier, and the reason why I hadn't done a commentary yet was because I was very, very tired. But, Yeah, I really do kind of firmly believe Roana is actually giving me brain rot because I'm not thinking about like other kinds of comps anytime I don't have Roana available, because it's starting to get to the point where I could throw Roana on any team that I use, and then it's a matter of like, well, wait, what am I going to use for the other team if I'm using Roana on the first team, or vice versa? Oh shit, I guess I'm fucked. Well, we'll see what I'm talking about whenever we get to the second match, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But, hey, what is the actual goal here? Yeah, it's Lua, Senya, Choux. It's really nothing too special at this point. You guys have seen it probably 1,000,001 times by now. But the one threat on that team is Choux. As soon as Choux dies, the entire team crumbles. Now, one thing to those of you who are probably paying attention might realize is the Senya is not running the level 3 EE, which gives her greater attack buff. This one is actually rocking the S1 EE, which heals her based on like use that she does. So, what does that ultimately mean? It just means we're going to be here a while. That's all it really means. And don't worry, I actually do edit some of this fight down, because as soon as Choux goes down, we're just going to get to another opportunity for Shadow Knight Pyllis to use S3, and then we'll just skip to the end. Because seriously, as soon as Choux goes down, the entire fight's over. Because Senya will not be able to kill you. There's no way. Especially if she doesn't have attack buff. Then she's straight up not breaking the wall. And when you have Rocket Punch, you're just doing so much damage, it's bypassing the healing that she's doing. Now, one thing that you're not going to see in this fight, because I cut all of it out, like it's about 4 minutes that I cut out of this fight, but whenever Choux goes down, then I have to make a choice of like who to hit between Lua and Senya, and that's where like I turn the auto off at that point, and I start like trying to mess with who I need to hit at that particular moment, because if Senya has counterattack, and she's also got the heal on the S1, you're just there for an exceptionally long amount of time. And if you get rid of Lua, then the turn count isn't going to go down as hard. So, like, this is if you were, say, on a time limit, and you didn't want to hit 100 turns for the draw on the thing, and if you just straight up just didn't want to be there as long. Because also, the 100 turn draw is not just subject to, oh, cool, I can just draw whenever, like, I'm tired of doing this. No, you actually essentially, like, kind of lose that match. You should only ever consider drawing if you know you're going to win. Like, it'll give you the points for it, but I don't think it gives you the extra amount of points. I haven't drawn in a really long time, so I can't quite remember exactly what it was. But yeah, like right there, I just went ahead and I skipped ahead. That's all you missed. You just missed a whole bunch of back and forth. Like, that's all it was. Now, here's a team that apparently is getting fairly popular. I wouldn't know. I usually don't see it all too often. But the funny thing is, whenever it comes to Lua, Savior Adin, and Mercedes, you can fight it with the exact same team that you fight Lua, Senya, Choux. Because what you're mainly doing is, you don't go into Savior Adin early. Because I don't even know what artifact the Savior Adin is running. I am willing to bet that it might be Moonlight Dreamblade, because I don't see Shepherds of the Hollow, and I do not see Sword of Cycling Seasons proc whenever this was happening. So, your goal, and this is if you have no information, is to just go into the Mercedes, because more than likely the Lua is going to be rocking Guiding Light. Because if she's rocking Guiding Light, then you just don't have that option. You can either go into Savior Adin, run a risk of like losing 5 souls, and then like also taking a hit, which it's really not a big deal, because like, we have the damage mitigation, we have the defense. Like, I've been hit 3 times, so Pyllis' defense is through the fucking roof. And then we also have Christy, who has Aureus, which also gives you more defense, and she takes, like, a portion of that damage for you. So, I really don't have anything to worry about when it comes to Savior Adin, like, going into me. But if you want to feel safe, then just keep going into Mercedes until you have 10 souls. Then when you have 10 souls, whenever Shadow Knight Pyllis' turn comes up again, just burn the S3. That way you'll have S3 again whenever it's her turn again. Hopefully you provoke the Savior Adin, just to give you a little bit more turn cycling speed. Things of that nature. Try to save, like, any and all, like, attacks that would go into Lua if she has stealth, that kind of thing. Because, like, this all just kind of worked out But yeah, you see how like the turns are kind of like going together. But that's the general strategy. It doesn't always work out like perfectly, but hey, that's the general strategy if you want to utilize it. So if you have another means of getting 10 souls, you could just straight up go for Save Your Adin early. So if you're using any of the artifacts that like just give 10 souls, and you didn't want to use Christy and Roana, and you just happen to have a metric fuck ton of ER on your Pyllis, something like that, you can still kind of do this same thing. But yeah, I've found that this comp doesn't really scare me. It doesn't surprise me too terribly much. I probably need to start really investing in Destina though, because Destina can do the same fight. Because like the heals that she'll provide are good. She's gonna have high ER. She's not gonna be really affected by the Lua, at least not on turn 1. Whenever she has like her spirit buff. But you'll see why I say that, because I've really gotten to a point where I overuse Roana to an excessive degree, and you'll see it right here on the next match. So, my wonderful luck, guess who gets hit first? Well, ain't you a fucking bitch. So, because of that right there, now I'm like in this horrible catch-22 situation of, do I heal and try to get Bellona's like stun off, or do I try to wait to see if I can get Lilibet to use her S3 to kind of fix the situation? Like, either way you look at it, this is really, really bad. So, ultimately, I decide not to heal yet, because what I'm planning to do is I'm going to see if I can circle around enough to get to a point where I can S3 Bellona for, like, the push-up. Like, first, this was my first initial try to see if Bellona could cut, and she doesn't cut. So, that was just my own fault right there. I didn't realize, like, how much push-up the, like, my Lilibet really does. So here, I decide to make a decision. I'm going to end up doing a sack. So what I do is I'm going to push up Bellona, and I'm going to hope that she will beat Winter in this exchange. However, that Winter happened to have Celine's artifact. So she had Secret Art. Now, because of that, and I did not see that coming, that she had Secret Art on her, I have essentially lost. Like, there's no way I can really win now at this point. But I'm still giving it an honest try. And another thing I probably could have done is I probably could have saved that S3 instead of using it on a Ravi. Because I would have still gotten the same amount of injury if I were to use just a regular S1 or not. And I could have straight up just killed the Senya, like, right now. But either way, I already know how this all ends. But, like, yeah, I'm not able to deal enough, like, injury damage to, like, really, really cripple the A-Ravi. And, like, I'm way too slow. And because of my insanely slow speed, I just cannot recover. And right here, that's going to kill me. So, yeah, I don't have any excuses and I don't have anything else to say. Because, straight up, if I had Roana with me on that fight, would have been 100% free. I'm not even kidding. But, so anyway, I go into this fight, which also looks like it's a fairly outdated defense, but, like, I wanted to try and have a little bit of fun with it. So I decided to use Ahmed, and I was just going to see, like, what kind of fun I can really do with her on a kind of set where she has recovery with Celestine. So, right there, I wasn't expecting her to already get the barrier from Raz. That's just my own fault right there. I completely forgot. She's like 8k HP, took 2k from the Dark Corvus, so, like, that's essentially 40% of her health. But yeah, I decided to just keep going into her, and I didn't decide to do the S3 yet because the Mediator Kawerik still has S2, and there's always a chance, like, oh, he's probably just gonna straight up hit my Senya. And well, guess what happens? It's like, yo, the AI is just picking all the right units to hit, aren't they? Isn't they? So yeah, because of that, I decided to go in with the S3. And, I mean, this isn't really going to do anything, because, like, immunity's up on Celine. So, then I just go in for a regular heal right here. So, here comes the first big hit. I don't think this Dust Devils, but, like, I'm not worried yet. But here's, like, a miscalculation on my part. It's like, oh, fuck, I kind of forgot. Yeah, Adventurer Raz does Death Break, and he brings the strongest unit. And if you happen to not, like, oh, I don't know, not activate your anti-crit, you might be kind of fucked. And that almost happens. So we got a little bit of a heal off right there. We're still kind of going into Celine because it's safe to do that, at least with Senya, because she doesn't crit. And then I get another pretty unfortunate like dual attack right there. Thankfully, she does not crit, so I don't die. And like right here, we're still okay. But then I get like to Dark Corvus's turn, and I actually struggle for a hot second. Like, okay, so who do I kill? Do I kill Raz to like save Senya, or do I kill Mediator? And I ultimately decide Mediator, because also Raz has Aureus, so he's going to take a form of that damage too, and Mediator had more health. So, like, it seems like the bigger threat. And, yeah, he's also extinct. Don't have to worry about it, so he's gone. And then, right here, I just decide to go for Senya to give Swift Attack to, and to give Attack Buff to, because it's her turn next. So, with this, she should get her next turn really, really quickly. As well as, because she had Attack Buff there, the Spear of New Dawn does a lot of extra damage, and then I can go into Araz. Woo! That was like, I made that a lot more difficult than it needed to be. So, yeah, here's another wonderful Lua team. Yeah, it's Lua, Mercedes, and Senya. I don't know if this team is as popular as apparently like the Savior Adin team that's really going around. But like here is just another pretty blatant, oh yeah, I'll just deal with the 1 DPS, and as soon as the 1 DPS is down, the fight's over. So, and this is also going to be an S3 EE Senya. So yeah, there's no recovery to really worry about. And I just go for like a little bit of a provoke there, and just also for a heal. And then I think I ultimately decide, I actually decide to kill the Senya first. I don't have to do that. Like, you can go in any order that you please. You don't actually have any real threat to worry about. I think at the moment I'm trying to proc Magic for Friends just for like a heal. That's actually all I'm trying to do. Like, it's so weird when you're going into this with the kind of setup that I have, where you straight up don't give a fuck about Magic for Friends and you are trying to proc it for the sake of healing, whereas you're normally the other way around. You're always trying to be like, no, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. But like, no, I'm just straight up like, hey, yo, give me that. Give me that shit. Ah, free health. Was it good for you too? Hell yeah. But yeah, that's all I was really doing. I was just going into Senya just because I could. Like, the Mercedes is not doing enough damage and is not enough of a threat for this to really like be an issue for my ER team. So like, I don't actually have a name for this team, but I use it all the time. But it's pretty much just like my ER team of like, I just don't care. Because, like, yeah, once again, all Christy's there for, Christy just provides extra ER to Pyllis. That is just there so that Lua will not get, like, a magic death break if you're ever fighting one that's, like, over 150 effectiveness, which they do exist. They are very, very, they are real. They do exist, and they're fucking horrible. But, yeah, that's like the only real general strategy to it. And the only reason why I use Roana so much is really just because of extra turn shenanigans that, like, Mercedes does, Senya does it, Choux does it. That's the only real reason why I use Roana so frequently. But then also just the fact that I recently upgraded her gear. Oh, hey, look, Magic for Friends again. Oh, delicious. Oh, it's the best. Oh, I love it. But yeah, that's the only reason why I really use Roana so frequently, is because, like, one, she can heal without actually using a non-attack skill. S2, Vigilant Eye, procs on the enemy's turn. And it is not a skill that is a non-attack skill. It just straight up happens. This is why I love this character so frequently. Like, I love this character so much. It's pretty much because of that. And also, just, Roana is just, like, unbelievably based. Like, I am very, very curious as to what an EE from her could really possibly be. I really don't know what it could be. I'm assuming they would probably go really easy mode with it and say, like, oh, hey, the EE for S2 is just going to be, it gives you more CR push. Like, I could see that happening. If they were going to do, like, a change for the S1... maybe adding a heal to it so she doesn't need Celestine. That I'm not sure of, but I mean, maybe. And then for the third one, if they really wanted to do something absolutely crazy, they could just make it so where she revives the dead instead of just applying revive buff. If they did that, though, I think Roana would actually be one of, if not the best healer in the game. The only thing she lacks is just cleansing. And with that, folks, that's the Guild War. It was... yeah, it was okay. I'm pretty embarrassed by like my performance that I did on that second one, because like it's a pretty clear example of like, okay, well, if I just used damage mitigators, if I did like a Crow with Aureus, if I did Troublemaker Crozet, and I did like or just straight up if my Lone Crescent Bellona had effect resist. Like, if I had, like, at least a decent amount of effect resist, and then I put Strax on her, because, like, honest to God, I'm not really using Sigurd's Scythe. Like, Sigurd's Scythe isn't really popping up. It's really not popping up as much as I thought it was going to be popping up, because, like, I have some defense and some HP on my Lone Crescent Bellona, but it's, like, not enough for her to get low enough for Sigurd's Scythe to really proc. So, it's really not happening, and anytime I use Lone Crescent Bellona, I tend to use her with healers. So... yeah, I'm probably going to start switching her over to Strax and then see if I can somehow get some better gear on her to like just completely like get rid of all speed on all of her sets and then just try to go for ER and like hopefully hit like 100 ER or something like that. And then also use Strax. But hey, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please leave a like. And if you'd like to see more of my content, please hit subscribe. I hope to see you soon. Later.